So next up, we've got Mark Wilson. Mark is the Managing Director of Legend Mining Limited. He's a chartered professional engineer with extensive experience in remote area project construction and corporate management of resources companies. He's held executive, non-exec and/or ownership roles in several resource-focused companies over the past 20 years, including the last 14 years as Managing Director of Legend Mining. Please welcome Mark.
Thanks, Rob. This is Legend's first time presenting at Diggers and Dealers, and I must admit that my whole team is terribly impressed with the breadth of knowledge, the breadth of interest and the breadth of understanding that's in the delegates who've attended. I've always had a great affinity for Kalgoorlie. I love the indomitable spirit of the people and the town, and whenever it's down, you can always sense that they know they're coming back and they're going to come back bigger and stronger than they were before. Legend's a story of a nickel project. I always like to acknowledge my geological colleagues by putting some money rock or rock porn on the front of our presentations, because it gives them something to look at while I talk drivel in the background. But that's actually massive nickel copper sulfide, which is from hole 27, which is the couple of holes that are 200 metres away from where our first discovery hole was. Our standard disclaimer statement. I think the most important thing on this slide, apart from the contents, is the photo. It's a photo of some Euros brokers who may recognise themselves on a recent site visit. And I got a text when I put it up, and one of them said to me, "Nice photo." I said, "Yes, it just shows brokers can pay attention." He came back to me very quickly and said, "Trick photography." But my presentation will be a quick commentary about the nickel market, an investment case for Legend, talk about our project, and in particular Mawson, which is our lead project, our progressive developing story, and then a summary of what we're intending to do. The nickel market I have found very fascinating, and ever since I've been involved in this, it just has really captivated me. Eddie, I think, did it fantastically well in BHP when he talked about nickel being the battery component that does the heavy lifting for storage. And despite the fact that 70% of the current use for nickel is in the stainless steel market, I really think the future of these nickel sulfides that we're looking for is in the battery market. And again, what I particularly like about Legend, all of our nickel is in the ground. We haven't got some big hungry plant demanding for us to dig it up before time, poke it through, do things. We've spent $16 million to get where we are today, and so we haven't got a big sunk cost. And this comment that I've gone the wrong way, is the focus on 225 out. If you saw Eddie's graph, and they're Macquarie's words, the sky is the limit. That's what Legend's aiming for, generally a 5-year gap from discovery to production, and that's what nickel's about. About Legend, we've got a market capitalisation of circa $400 million. We've got a series of options that are all in the money, that over the next couple of years will deliver another 13 odd million to our treasury. We've got a current cash position of 31 million. We're really quite unique, as I know it, in the junior space because we've just got one project. I think that sort of talks to my strategy when I came back from Cameroon with a bag of money. Nova had been discovered, and I wanted to find a project where I thought Legend could move the needle, and I identified this part of the Rockford project, bought it off Creasy, and the rest's history. Despite the number of shares we've got, we really are incredibly tightly held. Our top 20 shareholders hold 65%, of which the top 4 hold 54%. Creasy needs no introduction, IGO neither. Bailey's a high net worth in Perth, Wilson Group's me, and our board, very stable with the new entry of Oliver Kitty. Oliver's a 10-year veteran of an exploration manager for Creasy. So every significant deal that's happened in the Fraser Range in the last 10 years, Oliver has had his feet under the table as Creasy's representative in one of those transactions. It's an absolute coup for Legend to get him, and he's at our booth with us today. And any questions on the technical nature, just bring a Panadol and come and talk to him. The investment case for Legend is very, very straightforward. It's about the people, which I've spoken of. We've got a very large tenement holding. Legend's proposition is about scale. Scale where success will move the needle. Nickel, future-facing commodity, I've touched on that. We've got the cash to prosecute our dreams, and you are always going to hear a systematic approach to Legend's exploration activities going forward. I like to focus on this graph for a little bit because it really tells our story. How for the first couple of years, we were wandering around in what my cousin Genghis calls a bloody big paddock north of the Transline, and it's all soil covered. It's really quite difficult well, you can't do any of the traditional exploration activities of rock chip sampling, so you have to air core drill to get your geochemistry at the top of fresh rock and use geophysics to try and get conductive bodies. Our break came in December 2017 with this discovery air core hole 151. Since then, we've obviously drilled more air core holes around this to get a footprint. Share price obviously reflected that, and then through a period of bad news flow where I was negotiating another transaction with Creasy, we drifted a bit, and then we've really hit the pay dirt since December last year. A lot of people come to me and say, Mark, as an investment, has Legend done its dash at these levels? I can assure you at $400 million with 3,000 square kilometres under our holding, Sirius went from 10 million to 1.8 billion in 3 years off a 46 square kilometre package. I think I rest my case. Where our project is, you can see the Trans-Australia Railway line, very important for infrastructure access, and that's an enormous saving to us in terms of capital investment that's required to develop the project. I think the key part about this slide is the Thompson Nickel Belt in Canada analogy. It's the same size as our Fraser Zone. It's got 2.7 million tonnes of nickel endowment. There's 300,000 here, and I'm reliably informed by a Kiwi accountant, which is a bit of a tricky statement, that 1.6 million tonnes has come out of Kambalda, just to give you an idea of the potential of this project. And if you look at Legend's Orange land holding, you'll see that we control the entire part of that central gravity anomaly, which to our mind is no doubt the best ground in the Fraser Range. The main players, Legend, active and funded, Creasy Group private, IGO we all know about, and Galileo's doing some very interesting work to the south of our tenement. The prospect locations in our 3,000 square K, and I guess what I would like you to focus on here is again scale. Legend is not a one-trick pony at Mawson. I think Hurley's the next one, which we announced some interesting EM with, and that's where I would expect our second ranking project to come. And I'd now like to play a little slide and just talk through it. A lot of the early parts of this really talk to what I've already covered about the scale of our project, where it is 300k east of Kalgoorlie, the Trans Railway line, which is fundamental to product in, product out, an enormous cost saving in the development of the mine, the location of Mawson, which we'll get into in a second with the 3D gravity model, these other prospects within our project area. Mag map's very interesting. You can see that it's distinctly different mag on this eastern side than the west, and Mawson's the first massive nickel copper in that area. It really did talk to the scale of our prospectivity. This is the Mawson Intrusive Complex, 16 by 6. We're interpreting this as a cluster of intrusives. I think this mag inversion gives you a great graphic of that. All of the gaps are basically intrusive interpreters in intrusives. That slide there is sort of a horizontal cut of the mag, showing some mag highs. And this is the footprint of the close-spaced gravity that we did, which is the 3D inversion model, which is giving us this very large target, which we already know has produced massive nickel copper sulfides. This is it with the mag peeled off. Again, drilling patterns, our western and eastern footprints, where this 3D model sits underneath that Mawson intrusive. What you should see is that little cone there is where all of our drilling has been. Why has it been there? Because it was under the geochemical anomaly, and that was the key to us having the discovery of massive nickel copper sulfides. This modelled intrusion is actually not the ore body, but they're the right rocks to host the ore body. A couple of slides showing the positions of our successful drilling to date. And coming back out, again with the geochemical footprints, an interpreted geology model, which is obviously still in the process of being developed. And again, now we zeroed in. We're now coming out to the scale of this 96 square kilometre Mawson Intrusive Complex, where all of our work to date has really been about that central zone. Again, please come to the booth and talk to Oliver about that. He's the man who's put that slide together, and he will talk to the prospectivity and the fact that what we need to do is more geochemistry. We need to do more downhole EM. It's all about joining, hopefully, this eastern area to that western area, and underneath that is where the modelled feature is. And once we get the geochem and the downhole EM, that will then enable us to plan our deeper targets into that 3D modelled area. Just again, a few more money shots around holes 21, 23 and 25. You know, this is a 90-metre mineralised intercept. Within that is 12.95 metres of massive nickel copper sulfides. Assays are awaited for that hole, but the structural observations, again, I'd point you to Oliver to talk to that because he can just do it in his sleep, whereas it's tough going for me. Another money hole that we've drilled recently is hole 27. Interestingly, it's 24 metres away in terms of separation from hole 17, which had our best intercept of 19.8 metres of massive nickel copper sulfide that's going 2.7% nickel, 1.8% copper and 0.13% cobalt. The activity program at Mawson, you can see that we've got diamond and RC and air core rigs in the diamond and RC at Mawson, the air core rig operating regionally. The geophysics is an ongoing story. We're in front of the curve. We've got a level 1 environmental survey happening at Mawson starting later this week. And you'll get regular news flow provided I can get some assays from the labs. So in summary, the story I hope you've heard from me, and you can tell from my voice I've sort of a paid-up member of the Diggers and Dealers Club last night, is a highly prospective project, committed people, we're well funded, we're systematic, we'll go the distance, and we're absolutely committed to growing shareholder value. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Mark. Again, we're pushed for time on this one, so if anyone wants to chat to you, we'll still see you at the booth. But a very nice presentation. Thank you.